Can we talk?
Can we talk?
Can we talk?
¿Podemos hablar?
Can we talk?
Hi, everybody. Welcome back to the Can We Talk podcast. This is Lily, the Community Outreach Educator with the Colorado River Regional Crisis Services. So before we begin today's episode, I really want to take a moment to remind our listeners to take care of themselves while listening to this episode. This episode includes a survivor's personal story of domestic violence, and some details may be graphic or emotionally difficult to hear. Please listen at your own pace and step away if you need to. Your well-being comes first. To protect our guests' privacy and safety, their voice has been altered to ensure anonymity. With that, now let's begin this episode of Can We Talk? Before we really get a deep dive, I would love to know, can you share a little bit about what motivated you to come and share your story today?
My story has been on my heart for many years, and I feel that it is the right time to speak about my domestic violence and my survivorship that I encountered, not only because others out there need to hear it, but also I continue to live it within my family still.
Thank you. And this is Domestic Violence Awareness Month. So when you think about Domestic Violence Awareness Month or DVAM, what does it mean to you personally?
That means to me that there's hope, and it speaks volume for women to have courage to be free to speak of their hardships.
Thank you. We're gonna get right into this tough topic, and please share as much or as little as you're comfortable with your story. But what would you like the listeners to know about your experience?
And no matter what you're encountering or whatever you're going through, that God hears your prayers and God understands your situation. But you have to have the courage and the strength to not continue to endure what you're going through. Whether you have children, whether you feel that you're not loved, whether you feel that you're unworthy, nobody deserves to endure being abused.
Absolutely. We love the saying that love shouldn't hurt, and if there's abuse, then that's not love. Were there moments or turning points in your relationship and in your story that really shaped your journey as a survivor?
I was in a domestic violence relationship for about 12 years, and he was the father of my children. And the turning point for me was the day he held a gun to my head and played Russian roulette while my face was shoved in the dirt, and my kids were watching from our home. And I prayed to God that I would have died that day. And as I got up and walked away, I knew that God was listening to my prayers, and He was giving me the strength to get out of that. So I never lost hope. And that's one thing that I would say to every victim out there: there's never lose hope.
What types of support were most helpful to you as you were navigating this situation?
I didn't have much support because I felt that even though I knew I was making the wrong decision to stay, I felt as a mom that I needed a father for my children. not knowing that it was the wrong decision, and how the abuse that I encountered in front of my children, even though I tried to hide it, they could hear it, they could see it, they knew it, they could feel it. But I was the only one that was living in my own bubble. And I didn't make that decision. Although I made it very late in our relationship, I can see now how that bad decision affected my children.
What was one of the more difficult parts of the experience you think others should understand, if you're comfortable sharing?
Even though that you are in a relationship and for me, I was a working mom. I tried to raise my kids the best that I could with what I had. And I felt ashamed. I didn't feel loved. I felt that I had to keep going for my kids' sake. And I felt that if I were to reach out to anybody, they wouldn't help me because I continued to make the decision to stay. And I think that's where a lot of us are wrong, because there are outreaches, there are programs that we can turn to. And unfortunately, during my time, there was none. And I could, even though I would call the police, they would just take him to a different home, but he wouldn't go to jail. So that was another part of, living verbally abused, and the threats that, the police aren't going to stop me, your mom's not going to stop me, nobody's going to stop me, I'm going to still find my way to come after you and her.
Were there specific people or community members or that made a difference for you? Or what made you feel comfortable seeking or getting out of that relationship?
I think for me, it took my oldest daughter to finally ask me, when is enough going to be enough? When are you going to leave him? When are you going to know that, all he does is keep hitting you, and he's hitting us now, and we're old enough to tell, and we're old enough to speak our mind, and it's not right. I think that was my turning point.
What were the steps that you took to get to safety?
I would call the police, and like I said, the police would just take him to a different home. He wouldn't go to jail. There were some times he would go to jail. But again, I fell for the I'm sorry, I won't do this again, I'll stop. I fell for that, and I truly believed him because I wanted a father for my children, not knowing that that was the wrong decision.
Walking through the 12 years and the turning point happened of saying enough is enough, and you were ready to make that decision of safety for you and your children and your family. What resources or things did you tap into to bring your family to safety and out of that cycle?
I just finally didn't let that fear overtake me anymore. I didn't let that threat overtake me anymore. Although I would think about it at times, especially at night and living in a rural area, and how he would say he was watching me and my home. I couldn't live like I was insane anymore. I couldn't live over fear. And I had to put that behind me. And the more I would, turn down every encounter, he finally ended up leaving me alone and my children.
Was there family support? How were those around you able to support you in leaving and staying safe?
I didn't have much support, although my family basically always told me, to leave, and I didn't leave. Everything was mine. It was my home. It was my vehicle. I was the one who worked, and I just didn't make that decision to keep him away.
I kind of want to switch the conversation a little bit now into how others can be a support to those who are going through domestic violence. You mentioned you didn't have a lot of support. How do you wish there would have been support for you? What would have been helpful?
For me, if there were more resources available at that time, he was known in the community as well. And I was looked upon because I had the kids and I worked, and it seemed like everything that I did was frowned upon. So the support really wasn't there, but I continued to push through that, and that's what allowed me to have the courage to keep going, and I did.
Thank you. How can everyday people like neighbors, friends, coworkers, how can they support somebody they suspect might be experiencing domestic violence?
Check on them, go to their home, or just ask if they're okay. Call the police, let the police know that something's just not right. It's not against the law to report something that just doesn't look right. You can request a welfare check. You can let your neighbors know that something's going on in that home.
Yeah, absolutely. How could agencies like us, advocates, or systems do better to serve survivors?
Maybe incorporate some networking relationship with the court system, with the legal aid system, with the family advocates, because domestic violence isn't just about physically assaulting anybody, it comes in all forms. And majority of the cases for child protective services, domestic violence is involved. And I think incorporating with those agencies and to let others know that there are resources available.
Thank you. Now I want to transition a little bit into some healing side and the hope aspect. What has healing looked like for you? And I know healing is not linear. It comes in waves and it changes, and each day healing looks a little bit different. So what has that healing journey looked like for you?
I heal every day, and I probably will heal till the rest of my life. However, I do know that God is with me, and He's continuing to carry me through my everyday challenges, whether I have triggers, which I didn't know I had.
What practices, resources, people have helped you regain a sense of safety and hope?
Like I said, God is with me, and God has protected me and has carried me through all that I've went through. It doesn't take away the pain. The pain is still there. The forgiveness, I have forgiven Him. That's a big part of healing. The forgiveness is there, but the trauma remains. It remains in me, and it remains in my children.
What message would you like to share with other survivors who might be listening, whether they have chosen to seek services or not? Is there something other survivors should hear?
Know that you are strong and you are able to endure anything that life throws at you, and know that there is a God who sustains you, and know that you are loved, and always know that God loves you. And despite what anybody is telling you, you are worthy. And there is help. There's so many resources available. You just have to make that decision. Because I know how it feels to remain in a situation and everybody's telling you just leave, and it's not that easy. So I understand what you're going through, but know that it can't last forever. You have to be strong enough to make that decision to want to end it.
Thank you for that. Is there anything else that you would like to share that we haven't touched on?
Just continue to keep advocating for victims because we need it.
Thank you.
Thank you.
This episode we know is not an easy one to listen to. We want our listeners to take care of themselves. If you or someone you know is experiencing domestic violence, please know that you are not alone. Our services are available, completely confidential. We have a 24-hour hotline if you'd like to speak to an advocate. We also have our community office where we have advocates here who are happy and willing to work with you and build a safety plan. And know that if you come into our office seeking services, there's no requirement to report to law enforcement. We do know that that can be something that's a concern, and that's not a requirement to receive services from us. And there can be a variety of services, anything ranging from safety plan to orders of protection to emergency shelter. We have a variety of programs available at no cost to the victims and survivors who come into our agency. And we want to make sure that you are heard and you are seen and you are not alone in this. And we are here to serve you regardless of the situation. We really hope and advocate that our listeners here are aware of our services and are aware of Domestic Violence Awareness Month. We want to advocate it year round, not just in October. Obviously, we really want to push the awareness this month, and we have a variety of events coming out. If you follow our social media, we have facts and awareness pieces going out throughout the month. You can reach out to us on there as well. But please keep on the lookout for us and our services. Again, we're completely confidential, and we are here to serve the victims and survivors. But if there's nothing else that you would like to share, then I will conclude this episode. Thank you for listening, and thank you for sharing your story with us today.
Thank you.
When you're ready to talk, call 888-499-0911. You can also reach out at our website, www.crrcs.com. You can email us at canwetalk@crrcs.com. And you can always follow us on our social medias, Facebook and Instagram.
Cuando estés listo para hablar, nos puedes contactar al número 888-499-0911. También por nuestra página a www.crrcs.com, o los puedes contactar en nuestras páginas sociales en Facebook o Instagram.
Help.
Hope.
Healing.